So, Marilena, we're going to talk about your experience when it came to coaching with myself. From your perspective, why were you open to coaching?
I think the timing was perfect. I was at a turning point, I would say, in terms of where I was at my career at the time and my role. The situation back then for me was that I wasn't happy in what I was doing and I couldn't understand whether it was me, the role, the company. I wasn't in a good place. I wasn't feeling effective, that I was performing well, that I was giving it my best. And more important outside of the role itself, for me, was more of a career life crisis stage where I wasn't sure if this is what I want. I felt that life was taking me places as opposed to me driving it and me being on the driving seat in terms of where my career was going. And it wasn't a one off, it's something that was nagging me for a long while, for a few years before that. For me, was the perfect time in terms of taking a step to have a deeper look into what my career aspirations are and more of a stop gap kind of stage for me to see whether this is where I want to continue or whether I want to take a deeper look, a deeper inner look, and decide whether this is the right path for me.
What did you hope to achieve from the coaching?
Oh, a number of things. I think the main thing for me was, what do I want out of my career? Am I on the right path? I'm not just starting. I've been working for a number of years now, and I felt I lost direction. I felt lost, I think, in short. Do my choices professionally make sense? Are they coherent in the short, but also in the long run? And for me, it was very important to figure out where I want to be in the future. How do I build to something that's going to take me to the right path? I felt lack of direction. And some of it, I think, was where obviously life does take you. Things happen. The whole COVID era happened, and a lot of redundancies from the industry where I was in, which was travel, and having to make at some point quick decisions and pivot and change direction because of what's happening around you. But I did get to a point for a number of years where I felt I'm not on the driving seat. And I don't know whether my decisions make sense in the long term. And so I needed a deeper look into, am I making the right decisions for myself? Did I lose confidence on the way? Did I start feeling insecure and taking decisions in life out of panic? Or did I land here consciously and does it all make sense? And more importantly, where do I go from here? This was the turning point.
Do you feel the coaching helped you achieve that goal?
100%. It's a journey and it is not something you tick a box and you say, right, now I figured it out. I'm done for the rest of my life. It's a constant journey and it's a life journey. And I don't think I will ever feel I got there. But what it did help me is get me to the right path, build my confidence into my decisions, and give me the techniques, give me the tools to be able to use them right there and then, or keep them in a box and then take them out whenever I need them. So it was challenging in the sense that I had to take that deeper inner look and be critical in some stages as to where is it that I've taken the right or the wrong decisions or the wrong path, and then give me the tools to actually put me to the right path and being dependent in that. The coaching helped me build the tools, build my toolbox, and then be able to visit it and use it, not just for that purpose and that point in time, but to feel the confidence that I have it for the rest of my life.
When it comes to feeling that you have those tools, how did that happen for you?
Many layers, actually. It was from very practical things, such as, does my resume represent who I actually am? Do those words speak to my experience, how I convey it verbally? And I found there was a big disconnect in terms of what was on paper and how I perceived myself and how I described my experience. That's one very tangible, practical thing, to potentially interviewing skills, to how I go about looking for my next step. What do I want out of my career? Why did I make the decisions and the choices that I made to date? That was very important for me to understand historically as well, because that helped me build my brand. I do remember one of the things in the different sessions, which was around, what is your brand? Who are you? What are you good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? The 2-minute elevator pitch. And a lot of these things, I could talk through them, but what I realized was that there was confusion. There was lack of clarity in terms of what my brand was. And that was the most important thing that transpired to interviewing skills, to what does my resume look like, to which jobs do I go and apply for. It transpired to everything. And so building my brand and understanding who I am, how I got to where I am, where my strengths lie, where my weaknesses lie, what do I want out of life, what do I want out of my professional career, help me build all of this up. And then also decide which roles do I go for. And it took a lot of unpacking and sessions for me to realize that actually volume is irrelevant. And success does not relate to how many interviews I land. So success relates to me being selective and tailor making my approach to the roles that I really want to go after, and measure success rate for those, not the volume.
What did you enjoy about our time together?
Absolutely everything. The bit that I enjoyed the most was the most challenging times of me having to be more reflective and question the status quo and question what I considered to be right for me. But I had made a lot of assumptions about my brand, about how I think about things, how I do things. And what I enjoyed the most was tearing that apart and building it from scratch, which was the most challenging time. So there was a lot of deep dives into things that I had been doing the same way for a long time and having to unpack that and have a critical view into the way I think, the way I act, and rewiring all of this. I enjoyed that the most. I think what's important is to realize that this isn't work that the coach will do for you. It is very much the work that you need to do yourself. What I absolutely loved was that in every session, I had tasks I need to complete for the following session. So again, it gave me the tools, it gave me the guidance and the direction to get there, but the work had to be done by myself. And spending the time, the hours, the effort is what's going to get you there. It is not the coach who's going to open your brain and put all of this into your head and say, right, you're there, off you go. As much as I would have loved that, but it was hard work. And what I appreciated and what I needed was the direction. Am I doing this right? Am I looking at the right roles? Am I looking at the right businesses? Am I approaching applying for roles the right way. And so once I had the technique, it wasn't you going to apply for me. I had to do the work and go and apply for the roles. It wasn't you choosing which roles for me. I had to choose what roles. And that takes time and effort.
Why should someone consider receiving coaching?
Everybody's going to have, I believe, their own personal reasons, and everyone's reasons could be different. There's a ton of reasons why somebody should receive coaching, even if one feels that they are at the right path, that they're happy with where they're at. I think there's always opportunity to grow, to learn, and to learn about yourself more than anything else. For me, I don't know if this is the right parallel, but it is. It was a form of therapy in the sense of understanding myself better on a professional level. And so I think coaching is important. In my situation, I felt lost and I felt I wasn't sure if I was on the right path. But I learned things about me and about that toolbox that I mentioned earlier that I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so I didn't know to a certain extent of certain things that I was doing. I fell into a pattern which was not the right pattern for me. And I needed that external angle of someone who sees me with a obviously professional eye who can give me that direction. My personal reason was that I needed some sense of direction. I needed to build my confidence. I felt insecure going into interviews, looking for roles, and I needed somebody to guide me and flesh out of me what it is that I'm good at, strong at, and where I see myself. These were the reasons why I wanted to get into those coaching sessions. And so I think again, it could be varied for other people. It could be things like I'm not progressing into the role where I'm in, or I'm not getting any interviews, or I'm not successful in the interviews that I'm giving. It could be changing the role where you're in, changing the company, but it could also be growing within the role you're in. Be on the driving seat rather than on the co-driver's seat, even within the role that you're in. And the last thing I'm going to say on this is also we live the day to day and we tend to want to do our best into the roles that we're in, but it's also quite important to, for me, at least at that time in my career, it's also quite important to consider how do I build to where I want to be in 3 to 5 to 10 years from now. Not just to be effective in the role where I'm in today or in 6 months or in a year. Where do I want to be in 5 years and what can I do now to take me there during those 5 years?
And final question, why should someone consider working with Lola?
Because she's a
Mhm.
genius. I absolutely loved working with Lola on all levels. Lola has a great way of very quickly assessing and unpacking where the issues are quite fast and easily. It felt effortless for me. And asking the right questions and probing the right things to get to the root cause fairly quickly. And from there on, build from that. So for me, a superb, incredible judge of character and very perceptive. You helped me uncover things that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. And in a transparent, honest, direct way, which I sorely appreciate because I wouldn't have it any other way. And from that, have very constructive sessions. I always felt I learned from every single one of our interactions. And through those learnings, then feel richer, more confident, and more independent afterwards in terms of I know what to do now, I know how to do it, and I know how to approach it. And I realized that it's not always the easy way. There's no way of cutting corners and finding shortcuts. That was one of the biggest learnings actually for me. You need to realize that there's no cutting corners and there's no short ways of achieving things. You need to put the time and effort.
When I'm going through my slides and I'm telling people about my coaching approach, the final slide about my approach is that regardless of the service that the person wants, the one thing that I want you to walk away with, I don't guarantee anything because it's not within my power to, but the one thing I want everyone to feel is empowered. Like they've learned something, they know something better, they can handle an element of an issue that they've come to me with, if not the whole thing themselves in the future, or may just require tweaks or additional advice. For me, I want everyone to walk away feeling empowered. That is so important to me. That's my ultimate goal. And so that's the reason why I work the way I do. And I think the only way to truly empower yourself is to work out why and how you've disempowered yourself, so to speak, how and why you've handed your power over to someone else or another situation or an application that you shouldn't be going for, whatever it may look like. So it's good to hear that you felt like, okay, I feel like I'm walking away knowing more overall and feeling like, okay, I can do this, which is super important. Yeah, that's everything. So thank you so much, Marilena. This is perfect. This is really good. Well done.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. I was like, oh my God, she's so good.
Oh, I absolutely loved it as well. I really enjoyed it.
Yay. You enjoyed it. Good. That was awesome. Honestly. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much.
Oh, thank you.